Okay, this is the video, part 2, how to do a valve adjustment on the CFMoto Papio motorcycle. Alright, first thing, you're going to remove these two, I think they're 5mm hex on either side, these little plates. And there's also a 5mm on the bottom there. And once you get those off, they just slide forward or back, I can't remember, but they'll slide out of the way. All right, now with those covers off on both sides, this goes for either side. There's a bunch of Phillips screws that you're going to want to remove, and also a hidden 5mm in the middle. Just be aware, start removing the Phillips, go around here. There's some more 5mm hex. I'll show this plate coming off here pretty soon. So Phillips on this plate, and then you could see this like middle piece here with the holes in it. Take those 5mm and go from there. All right, so I got all the Phillips screws out. Next step is remove this middle piece. Should just come out. God. No, there's actually a Phillips on the bottom I missed. Okay, now this piece comes off. You're gonna want to do this for the other side as well. All right, so now they got all those pieces off. The next thing will be this piece. There's a 5mm here, a 5mm tucked up under there, and that should be the only thing to get this piece removed. Okay, so this piece comes straight out once you do those two bolts, and we're gonna have to remove this entire gas tank cover, whatever. It's like pretty much looks like the whole top of the bike. There's more 5mm there and here. I think that's the only two for this side, but just get those removed just in preparation since we're here. All right, same thing for this side. One there, one here, and pull it away. Show you guys this side. Just pops off. Same thing on this side. 5mm, 5mm, 5mm. This side is 3. The other side was only 2. Just get those removed. So the next step is going to be remove this tank cover. It's all one piece. It's basically this, and up until right here. You're going to remove these poppets, but I'll show that in a little bit. But before we start taking that off, I want to do these Phillips here, and that little poppet, just push the middle section in. Same thing with this one, because it also won't let the top part come off. Phillips, remove that one, same thing. Push that in, push that in. All right, so now that we have those poppet things out, you can just see it's just a hole. Same thing with that one there. Phillips is gone on both sides. See there, it's gone. It's gone. It's gone. That's what they kind of look like. So for removing the gas tank cover, the first thing, you take your gas cap off and just take out these 3 5mm hex bolts. There's also one there. I think that one is 5mm also. Might be a little bigger at the base of the tank. And then you want to take this poppet out, just get a flat blade and pop up the top on both of these and take them out. I think that should be it all. Start the video again once I get all those fasteners removed and show you how to just take this part off. All right, so I removed that bolt 5mm. It's a little longer than these other 3 here. Those are all removed. That poppet's removed. Just gonna like pry up the top with the flathead and then pull it out. And then I'll show you how to remove this tank shroud. Okay, now we're taking the tank shroud off. it's going to hang on by this wire. So you could either take this off, which I've done before, is a pain in the ass, so don't do that. Just leave that there. What I did instead was there's like a little fork here, and I split it apart to make it easier to take this cable out. That way it could just be removed. And then this comes out all one piece, just through the hole there, without having to take that thing off. Okay, now that's off. Okay, once that shroud is off, there's 4 10mm hex, those 2 there, and those 2 at the front. And I think the last thing to get the gas tank off is this. Here's a fuel pump. Here's a quick disconnect fuel hose. You don't want to take that off. And there's 2 evap hoses right here. Pull those off, and then take them off. Just be careful with these. These are very soft, and they've already ripped on me a few times. I think that's it. Let's check the other side. Oh, also, I think this blue cable, yeah, right here. So you're gonna want to disconnect this cable here as like the blue and green wire. That way you could get the gas tank off also. So this connector, 2 evap hoses on the other side, and the fuel hose. And then I'll show you with the tank taken off. So I haven't taken off the tank yet, but basically how you get that connector off is there's a white tab. You pull it up while you're pulling this out. So I already kind of pulled the tab up, but once you pull that out, it should just come off easily. There you go. So just pull up on that white tab right there. It'll just come right out. For this, grab some needle pliers. Careful with the hose. These aren't that strong, so you don't need anything crazy. So now those are off. Should just come out. Oop. What I always do is put some grease on and around the metal, just so these are easier to remove for the next time. And the fuel hose. Okay, just on both sides, just press in, and then it'll just come out, leak some fuel out. Okay, that should be simple. Let's see if I could get the tank removed. I'm going to stop the video and just pull it off. So that connector I said might not need to be removed actually does need to be removed. I was not able to pull the gas tank off. So you can see it here. It was the one that was tucked up here behind the fuel pump. I think same thing. You pull up on the black tab and it just comes off. And then you can just remove the gas tank. Okay, so the gas tank is now removed. So it was the fuel pump connector on the left-hand side, this connector on the right-hand side, the 2 evap hoses on the left-hand side, and then lastly, I think was the fuel line going to the fuel pump. So I think that's 5 total. Okay, so you could see the caps for the, where are the caps? The caps for the valves that you're gonna have to take off, but this one's obviously, you could get to that one, but this one is buried behind all this crap. It's not too bad though. So let's move this out of the way. I think, okay, red connector. This one will pop up. So go ahead and just get those 2 out of the way. Red connector goes on this like evap canister looking thing. Okay. So the first thing I always do is I take the spark plug wire out, and then this is the coil. It has a connector also. You just pop it out. There you go. And then using my drill because it's faster. Okay, and then it just comes off. I think so. This is the ABS box. I think there's a bunch of brake lines. You don't have to touch those, just leave them there. Let's see here. I think the next thing we have to take off is this evap canister box. So you can see there's a 5mm there. You can see I over tightened it and it cracked. And then another 5mm right there. And I think that's the only 2 to take this box off. So I'll start that in a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna take this thing off. And then this one right there. I think this canister just kind of moves out of the way there. There you go. When I first did this, I would like unplug it, but now I just like move it over to the side and just let it hang there. It's not heavy at all, it's just hanging by the hose. Okay, so now we have full access to the second cap. This is for the intake valve. This is the exhaust valve on that side. Another thing you're going to want to do is take the spark plug out just so it's easier to turn over when you're trying to find the timing marks. Okay, I got the spark plug removed. And you're going to need a 17 millimeter. I had to go buy this literally just for this bike. And just loosen both of those right here. Okay, it's loosened. They're pretty tight from the factory. I do not recommend tightening them that tight. Okay, there we go. When you reassemble, just kind of snug them down. Like you don't not want these tight. It's very difficult to remove, and you do not want to mess up the hex thing on here. Okay, so next step, you have to take off the exhaust. I think those are 13 millimeter. Hold on. 13. Yeah, these are 13 millimeter. You just want to go ahead and loosen those off. This cover stays on the exhaust pipe. It comes with it. You don't have to take this off. Just leave that there. So you take those two bolts, the oxygen sensor, you're going to want to loosen that. Just be careful of the wire. Just you don't want to get it kinked up or anything. And then there's this bolt here. I think that's a 5 millimeter also. But on the back, it has a nut on it. So on the back, I think you're gonna want like a wrench to hold it down while you loosen this one right here. And then the last one, same thing, has a nut on the back. So there's the first one, and then this one right here. You can see it has a nut on the back also. Once you get this just loosened up, you don't have to remove it. Just loosen it up. That's what clamps it to like the muffler pipe. So from here downward, this pipe is going to come off. So I'll go ahead and loosen that up and then go from there. So I got a 13 millimeter wrench behind there holding it on, and then a 5 millimeter hex for this piece here. Okay, for the exhaust removal, I got these two bolts loosened up. Just be wary of which way this goes because it might flip upside down. I'm not sure which way it goes. I didn't mark it, so I'm not sure. But anyways, I just let it slide down there. Loosen the oxygen sensor. I think the connector is here for the oxygen sensor. So I just kind of let it, hang up there. It's going to get kind of twisted up on itself. Just be careful. You don't let it get too twisted and then it comes out. Okay. Careful not to touch it. Last time I just like hooked it up here and just left it there. Okay. So I removed this 13 millimeter nut on the back of this 5 millimeter hex. There it is. Then the bolt up here, the clamp, it's actually welded on the back, so you just have to loosen that 13 millimeters, and then this whole pipe should just come off. Hardest part is pulling it from the back. Pipe. It's all removed, and you're literally only doing that so you can get to this inspection hole here, which is where you're going to see the timing marks. The little line will match up to this triangle here. Let's see it. So I think this is that's a 17 millimeter also. Get this loosened up. Okay, so that's 17. Okay, loosen this up. Has a copper crush washer, so just be careful with that. And so next thing is we're going to need a hex to take this inspection. Not inspection. This is the inspection hole. This is just to be able to turn the engine over. So for this one, it's a 10 millimeter hex. It just comes out. Careful, has an O-ring on there. Okay. But here's where you're going to turn it over. And I think that's a 17 millimeter also. But we're going to be turning this counterclockwise once we get to the point where we're going to check the timing mark. Oh, shit. And then here's where we're going to check for the line. I'll get that started once we take the valve covers or the caps off. Okay, so now before we start adjusting the valves, we are going to have to get it to top dead center on the compression stroke. So what I'm going to do is we're going to turn this counterclockwise until we see a timing mark. But first, to make sure we're on the compression stroke, that's the intake valve towards the rear of the motorcycle. So I'm going to turn this over counterclockwise, 17 millimeter socket. Okay, feel some resistance. Okay, when you see the intake valve go down, that's the intake stroke. It's going to be sucking in air, boom. Now it's on the compression stroke. It's going to compress fuel and air. But what we're looking for is top dead center on this stroke. So this is the compression stroke. Maybe wanting to get, it's like a little line. We're going to match up to the tip of this little triangle pointer thing. Looking through the video, so going a little slow since I can't really see. There, I think it's coming up. 1 second. Okay. It's a little more to the left. Okay. So it looks off on camera, but in person it's fine. So that triangle is pointing right to that notch right there. And just to make sure there's no other ones, you keep going. Keep going. Minus 40. Ooh, 4,000. Some numbers there. Oh, I just passed it. Shoot. Okay, but same thing again. Intake stroke, sucking in air, sucked in the air. Now it's going to compress it. Now we got to come up to that timing mark again. There we go. Hold on, give me a second. Kind of hard to see even in person because you can't stick your head right up under there. Okay. So make sure you're looking directly ahead and that line is lined up. Now that you're top dead center on the compression stroke, what I like to do is grab the tops of these. You can see the tops and just kind of wiggle them around to make sure they're loose. It might not feel like it, but they have a tiny bit of up and down give because you got to remember the gap is like 0.08 millimeters. It's very small. As long as there's some movement up and down. Same thing with the exhaust. This one is the one that's kind of harder to see. Some up and down play. You move it up and down and like tap it, you can kind of hear a little noise. So the gap is definitely there, which is what we want. We don't want it to be any of them touching. So right now this should be ready to be gapped. So I'm going to start on the intake valve. That one is, I believe, 0.08 to 0.10 millimeters. I'll double check though. And we'll go from there. I think it's You're gonna want a little flathead screwdriver for the top, and then that lock washer. It's a 10 millimeter, I believe. So we'll go from there. Okay, so I have a feeler gauge. It is 0.076, so 0.08 millimeters, basically. I think the spec for this one is 0.08 to 0.10. I'll put it in the video though for you to make sure. But basically, you're going to take your feeler gauge, always bend up the tip like that so it's easier to access. It's going to be hard to see, but you could see here the top of the valve hits the little tapper, which is this threaded screw thing. So you're going to want to get under there. It's kind of hard to see. Okay, there you go. You can see the gap. There's a gap there you're definitely going to be able to feel. So what we're looking for is that there's some resistance. There's like almost no resistance, so this gap opened up quite a bit. And I might have done this wrong. Since the previous video I had done this one more time, didn't record it. But basically the valves were pretty loud. I mean, it was still running fine, but more noise than I wanted. So what we're gonna have to do in this case is leave the feeler there. So since this gap is out of spec, I take a 1/4 inch socket and the 10 millimeter socket, or sorry, your wrench, whatever, because you want something small to work in this tight space. Just gotta loosen that up. Okay. So now that that's loosened up, since the gap is too tight, what I want to do is come down here with a flathead and right on there, and it's turn it to the right, and I could, like, I turned it and now it's getting tight already just with that tiny little bit. So let me check the feeler gauge. It's probably going to be too tight now. It's actually okay. Might need a little more. So what I'm going to do is tighten this down some more. I think that gap is still too loose. You can see how it goes. It just went down. Okay. Tighten up some more. Just kind of get a feel for it, because this whole like contraption, this little rocker arm valve tapper thing can move up and down, so you kind of want to over tighten at least at first, because it'll come back up because you're pushing it down. Then go ahead and check the gap again. Okay. I think it could still be more. Yeah, this one doesn't have that much resistance. Wow, that must have been super out of spec. Okay, tighten it down some more. As you're tight, or you kind of want to make sure that 10 millimeters loose enough also, or else it won't let you keep shrinking the gap down. By the way, if this doesn't make sense, there's a Revzilla video of the guy, Barry Henning, showing how to do the valve adjustment. This is kind of like not a professional video, so it's every man for himself. Okay, tightening it down some more. Okay, let me check that. Okay. No, it's still not as much as I want. Damn, no wonder these were so loud. Okay. It sounded like this engine was rattling apart. I don't know what happened. It must have not. I don't know. Okay. Get this loosened some more. Pay attention to where this notch is, because when you're trying to loosen the screw, it'll like go back into place. So I had it almost like perpendicular, but now it's twisted back. So okay, so now it's like pretty much horizontal to where I'm looking. Do like a lot more turn. Let's see. still like to see more. Jeez, this thing was way too loose. Also ride this bike kind of hard just out of necessity to keep up with traffic. Okay. Oh, and that is way too tight now. Now I can't even get this thing out. Okay, so I'm gonna loosen it up a little bit. Keep a mental note of where like the little notches in relation to where it was. Oh God. Okay. Try to turn this by hand. Okay. Turn it a little bit more to the left. Let's check this. That's a good amount of resistance. I think I want a teeny bit more though. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this 10 millimeter down. It feels good where I had it. Okay. Okay. So just don't tighten it super tight just until it's like not loose anymore. Like just, putting a finger on it. Teeny bit snug because you might have to adjust it after the fact also. Okay, so it's a good amount. I'd like to see a tiny bit more because I think the intake valve will open up over time and the exhaust one, the gap will shrink. So this gap, I want it a little tighter because it'll open up. And that's just personal preference because I don't want it being really loud when I ride around. I do these pretty frequently, these valve checks, so it shouldn't be that big of an issue. Okay, just loosen that. God. Okay. Better tool, but whatever. Okay. Okay. No, it kind of doesn't want to go in, so now it might be too, the gap is too small. It's just kind of you're going to be doing this back and forth. You'll check it, tighten it, it'll go out, check it, tighten it, check it, tighten it. And then I tighten this down, not fully, but a good amount. Okay, so now I need some loosening. So you get the idea. I'm going to go ahead and finish up this intake valve and then let you know how it went. Okay, I think I got this set pretty right. It's 0.08. And it has like some resistance, not too much where it's like feels like it's skipping or grabbing a lot, but not too loose either, which is exactly how I wanted it. Okay, I went ahead and did the same thing for the exhaust valve. This one's kind of tougher to get into, and you're not gonna be able to see when you have the feeler gauge in there in the right spot like the other one. So pretty much just use it how it's meant to be used and put it down in there between that gap and feel for the resistance. In this case, it's 0.15 to 0.19 millimeters. My feeler gauge, I think, is what is it set to now? Ooh. So I was checking it at 0.17, so 0.18, and it's like a tiny bit tight, but then the 0.15 has some resistance, so that's within that gap. And then you want to doubly, triply make sure that you tighten down that 10 millimeter nut that's on there. Do not forget the 10 millimeter nut. And don't tighten it down too much, but make sure it's really snug on there. Okay, so once you're satisfied with your adjustments, you want to tighten those two caps off. Just remember, do not over tighten them. It's going to be a pain in the ass for you later. I went ahead and put the spark plug back in. So I think the next thing, so I'm going to start reassembling. On the reassembly, just put the tank on and all the adapters, roll it out to the driveway, start it, make sure it runs. Don't put it all back together without having checked it. You're gonna have a bad time. Okay, so reassembly. Now that all that's closed up, actually, what you should do is before you put that canister thing. So Ed kind of button this all back up again, that we don't forget it. Just kind of clean all the grit and stuff out of there. And that looks okay. Where's the other thing? On this one, make sure that the washer is back on there, the copper washer. Just put that one back on there. And that one, just tighten it up, not too tight. This material is like some kind of cheapy metal, but it's fine. Just don't over tighten it. Same thing with that one. Tighten it, snug it up, and then like a quarter turn or something. Okay, it's snug. Just a little bit more. And okay. Wait, let me grab my socket. Okay. Okay, so when you have the valve caps all tightened down, got your inspection hole tightened down, this hole tightened down. I think the next step would be to reinstall the exhaust. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Do my best with one hand. So I just kind of put that under there. And that's there. I'd say the first thing to try to do is put that in the exhaust pipe, at least a little bit. And once it's like mostly on there, it should be easier, but just go ahead and put that in all the way and I'll skip to that. Okay, got the exhaust on there. Not tightened down yet, but what I would do first is before you tighten any of the other bolts down, come through here, put this back how it was. I think I put on the oxygen sensor last time and I couldn't get that thing over, so. And then you have your two exhaust bolts. One goes there. The other one, this one's kind of harder because it's behind the pipe. Just kind of get a feel for it. Thread these in by hand. You don't want to cross thread anything because that would suck. Okay, it's going in there. I would do these by hand as much as I can first because this plate is going to go flush with, you could feel it like touch the back there. So you want to get these pretty much fully started before you tighten them down. So they tighten evenly. Okay, still going. Okay, that one's done. I'll skip to me finish tightening these by hand. Okay, now you're going to want to tighten the two exhaust bolts. 13 millimeter. Remember, use a 6-point socket. 12-point sockets are a scam, apparently. Just gonna snug that up. They're just more prone to rounding out bolts. Oh, shoot. Okay. Just tight enough, not too tight. You're going to have a bad time next time. You don't want those bolts to break off in the exhaust. Next thing, I'm going to reinstall the oxygen sensor. Remember, we had put it up there, so just bring it back down. And what I like to do is twist it up counterclockwise. That way when you're threading in it, it'll kind of be normally threaded in there. And this is a 5/8 wrench I used to tighten and untighten this thing. There you go. Be okay. Now just get your 5/8 out of the way. There we go. Just snug, and then an eighth of a turn or so. Nothing too crazy. And if you twist it, like I said, it just kind of hangs here, which is nice. And then the next step, I think, so we did the exhaust bolts, oxygen sensor. Oh, yeah. So the next thing I would do is actually tighten up the exhaust up here. Just get that out of the way. Not too tight. And then this bolt here. Remember, it's the 5mm hex and then the 13 nut on the back. I'm going to skip this just because it's hard to do with one hand. All right, so now that the exhaust bolts are all on there, the back one for the muffler clamp, the middle one, and then the exhaust bolts in the oxygen sensor. So remember, we took this box, this EVAP box, the California box, and it's 2 5mm, one right there, one right there. And just be careful of tightening. You can see I cracked it the last time I did it because I was careless. Let me see. Most of the fasteners are the same. Some have like a little lip on the bottom, so I'd be weary of that. But I'm gonna go ahead and tighten these up off camera. All right, we got this box back installed. One thing I will note is there's two little, it looks like hoses should go here, but as far as I know, there's no hoses. I found it like that, so I'm not sure what that's about. Okay, once we have this box on, the next step is the coil and the spark plug wire. I forgot to install this last time, it sucked. But so just has that one bolt that goes there and the plug. I would put the plug on first just so you don't forget. Be easier to get on there. It's this green one. Clicks in. And as far as the routing on the spark plug wire, I mean, it could go any way you like as long as it doesn't have a lot of tension on it. I can't remember how it was from the factory. Might have gone on, over, under. I really don't know. So just kind of however you feel comfortable with it hanging on your bike. Have it that way. I think I had it like this actually, so that the gas tank wouldn't pinch, but yeah, so it'll stay like that. There's plenty of room under that hose there. I think I didn't want it over the top for a reason, but I can't really remember. So yeah, so just get this in there. I'll do that off camera and then put the spark plug wire on the spark plug. Don't forget to put this in because once the gas tank is in, it's really hard to like move that piece. So all right, I think the last thing to at least get the bike running for you to check it is the gas tank. But remember, we put these cables up here. Those are going to go down here somewhere. This one goes into the gas tank. I think it's for something. And then this red cable goes. Where does this cable go? Oh, it comes back around here and goes into the evap canister thing. Okay, so that cable goes there. This one's gonna go into the fuel tank. All right, so for fuel tank, remember fuel line to the fuel pump. This green connector, I'm not exactly sure what it does, but it does connect. I think that's the fuel pump cable. And these two evap hoses. And then this last connector. And then I'll just put the gas tank on. I'll do it off camera. And then I'll show you how to kind of hook everything up. Okay, I got the gas tank mounted. It's not perfect, but just line the bottom holes up, the top holes. I'm not going to bolt it in just yet in case it needs some more clearance. But, okay. Oh, so this connector goes here. The red and blue goes to the green and black. It's important. Okay, just going to tuck that up out of the way. Whatever, I tried. Put the fuel line on there. Okay, that's on. And these two little evap hoses. Remember to grease them with some rubber safe grease because they will be a pain to get off. I'm not going to clamp these on because as you move the gas tank around, I found that they just come off anyway. So wait, so gas, fuel line, connector, two hoses, and then the last one on this side is for, yeah, there we go. It's the, what is that? Oh, it's the fuel level sensor. Looks like it. And then just put those on there. Remember, green, blue, and white, green, blue, and white. Just clicked in there, just took that out of the way. Okay. I don't think these have to be in any specific place, but do your best to get it out of harm's way. In theory, the bike should run. So at this point, I'm going to put the 4 gas tank bolts just so that's secured, and then roll it out into the driveway, start it, and make sure everything's good. Okay, a moment of truth. Pull it out. It's raining today, so. Okay, so now it started up just fine. The valve train is making way less noise. It was like tapping really. Sounded like a sewing machine before. It's pretty bad. So next thing you want to do is put on the gas tank shroud. First thing I would do is route the cable under where you got it from. Because remember, this goes on top, but this cable is going to be a pain in the ass. So I'll route it through and then show you how I did it afterwards. So I think I messed that up, but don't be a fool like me. Make sure you take your gas cap off first. So I managed to get this thing back on. It's kind of a pain because this part will like pinch on these wires. So you kind of want to open it up. That way it goes in easier. And then as far as the cable goes, when you're installing it, you don't want to route it through here, and then just put it in the clips. Actually, I'll install this off camera. So I got this all installed up. That's nice. Before you put the seat on, make sure that when you turn the key that it opens or you're screwed. But that should be it for the gas shroud install, or the tank shroud. And then it's pretty straightforward from here. You put on the side panel here, side panel there, panel there, panel there. I will show it on video though. All right, so we're gonna install these panels first. Just a reminder, after you put the tank shroud on, make sure this stuff is like clipped in. It has like little holes that it'll go into. Just make sure that that's all real neat and nice. That way when you put the plastic poppets back in, it won't be as much of an issue. But I'll put this piece back on. Actually, before you put this piece on, make sure you put the plastic poppers. So you want to pull it out, push it in, and then get that thing flush. So put the popper in and then push it flush. And then you could put this panel on here. Just kind of clips into everything. Say there's a 5mm there, 5mm there, and then don't forget the Phillips at the bottom. I think there's 3 Phillips and 2 5mm, so you'll figure it out. So before you put this panel on, I forgot to mention one of the Phillips actually goes there, because then you're going to put this on and not know where your last screw went. So it's the 5mm. Second. 5mm, 5mm, and the 2 Phillips, or one here and then one underneath at the bottom here. Another thing, when you're installing this panel, it has a little hook, so you're going to want to, you can see where the hook goes in. You're going to want to start from the top and then slide it down so that it's fully flush in place, or else you'll have a lump, like a bulge right here, and you don't want that. Another thing I forgot again, the Phillips, those are the pointy ones. This little flat one is the one that goes on the bottom, and make sure that you have the black piece of plastic going over that silver thing, because I had it underneath on accident. So when you're installing the right hand side, there's no like hook or anything. This one just goes on flat. So there's a Phillips behind there, and then 2 5mm, and then the Phillips, and then there's one at the bottom here. Okay, so I had to take this panel off. I forgot to mention to put the 2 poppets back on like the other side, and there's the top Phillips. And then you could put this on. This one's way easier, just sits in flush like that, unlike the other side. And just fasten it down. Okay, so next are these caps. Before you put these on, remember to put the middle bolt here on either side. Middle bolt there. Of all of them, I think it's that left one. It's going to be thicker, or at least have coarser threads than the other 3. Yeah, so you're going to want this one, and that's the one that goes in the middle section. All right, once you got that middle bolt in, at least for this side. Shoot, which way does this go? Oh shoot, this is the wrong one. Okay. Slide in from the right and to the left. Side to the right. There we go. 2 fasteners, 1 on the bottom. Same thing for this side. There you go. Just tighten that down. 2 and 1 on the bottom. All right, last thing we're going to do to put the side panels on. I did forget though. Make sure you get your poppets for the top here. You're going to put it in there, or else this tank piece is going to rattle. Okay. Same thing here. There you go. And then you could start with the side panel. Just put this on there. There's like a little bump there that goes into that little hole atop where the fastener goes in. So you kind of want to get that in first. Oh, wait, before. I must let everyone. Before you put that panel in, don't forget to put in the 2 screws. 1, 2. All right, now to reinstall the panel for the right hand side, remember there's 3, 1, 2, 3, 5mm hex bolts to hold the gas tank shroud on, so do that first. Once you get that last side cover on, pretty sure if you have a battery cable, make sure it's not pinched. Take it out of there. That's it. That's how you do a valve adjustment on this bike. It's a lot of disassembly, but it's actually pretty straightforward. And I think after the first time I did it the second time like in less than 45 minutes. So yeah. So I forgot to mention one thing. I'm not sure if I had it in the video, but make sure this is like actually on your spark plug, like all the way down. Mine was loose, but earlier in the video when it was running, it must have just barely been working. So get that on there all the way down and make sure that spark plug is tightened down. So if you followed the video up until now, I just found these on the floor. I'm not sure where they go. So I'll definitely let you guys know if I find out where they ended up. Or where they're supposed to go, I guess. So they were the 4 bolts, 3 for the gas, like the gas tank shroud. It's not super important. And then I'm going to find out where this goes and let you know. So of the 4 leftover bolts, 3 went under the gas cap, and this bigger one of the 3 actually goes right there. So mystery solved, no leftover bolts.